Greetings. My name is Mike Levis, and I'm an Avalanche instructor with the Mount Hood Ski Patrol. In this module, we will give a brief introduction to Avalanche rescue dogs. Avalanche dogs can be a very important resource for use in avalanche rescue activity. They can be much more time efficient than a probe line in finding a victim that is not wearing a beacon. We will discuss how to incorporate rescue dogs into your search procedure, as well as the do's and don'ts of working with avalanche dogs. Avalanche dogs are very effective in searching a large area quickly for victims who are not wearing a beacon. The downside is that it oftentimes takes a long time for dogs to reach the avalanche site. Typically, they will arrive with a secondary response team if you are lucky enough to be at a resort that has dogs. If they're being provided by a third party, it can be a very long time before they show up on scene. The effectiveness of Avi dogs is very dependent on how effectively the site manager works them into the rescue scenario and the discipline of the rescuers in not distracting the dogs while they're working. More on this shortly. Avalanche dogs work in a team with a handler. They have been through extensive training and certification to work in an avalanche rescue scenario. Most avalanche rescue dogs are working breeds, golden retrievers, Labradors, or Australian cattle dogs. They start training at an early age and finish when they're about 2 years old. The training includes basic obedience as well as familiarization with all aspects of rescue, riding on a chairlift or a snowmobile in all kinds of weather. To be certified, dogs must find a variety of buried objects, sweaters, backpacks, etc., buried to various depths in 45 minutes of continuous work. Dogs go through continuous training to keep their skills sharp and eventually retire at about 10 years of age. If you're interested in more details, check out the link of the Canadian Avalanche Rescue Dog Group on this slide. So how do avalanche rescue dogs detect a victim? Well, we all know dogs have a very keen sense of smell. The body of a buried victim emits smells that the Avi dog is trained to home in on. The scent from a human flows upward through the snowpack to the surface. The characteristic of the snowpack, porosity, moisture content, etc., can affect the migration of the scent through the snowpack. The scent will also travel laterally through the snowpack. Dogs have been known to locate scents as deep as 15 feet in the snowpack, making them ideal for deep burials. When a dog finds a victim, they will alert. Most dogs are trained to alert by barking and digging with both paws. The behavior and signals will vary slightly from dog to dog, so the handler will confirm the alert. So how do you, as site commander, incorporate dogs into your search procedures? As we mentioned at the beginning, it will often take time for dogs to arrive. You should follow your normal search protocols and not wait for the dog team to arrive. Once they're on site, brief the dog handler on the situation. How many victims, last seen area, what clues have been identified, etc. Assign a team with a probe and shovel to shadow the dog team. If the dog alerts, you will want to start probing immediately. If you have started a probe line, continue this activity in parallel with the dog search unless requested otherwise by the dog handler. Rescuers can make the job's dog more difficult by contaminating the search area or trying to communicate with the dog. Leave the dog alone. Rescuers should ignore the dog and continue with their assigned tasks. Once the dog alerts, trust the dog. The dog is much more accurate and efficient than a probe line. Note if there are other dogs in the area, they can distract the search dog. Other untrained dogs should be isolated and removed from the search area. Since the dog alerts by detecting the scent of a buried victim, any contamination that would mask the scent will cause a problem. Look at the items mentioned on this slide. Smoking and tobacco products, petroleum products, snowmobile fuel, for example, or cooking propane, food, spit, urine, feces, all can make it harder for the dog to find the scent. The message here is be aware of what you're doing when the dogs are at work. Don't make it harder for them. On Mount Hood, only Mount Hood Meadows has Avi dogs on staff. Mount Bachelor and Bend also has an active Avi dog program. Make it a point when you're at either of these locations to talk to the Avi dog handlers and get some pointers on what they would like to see from you if you're ever involved in an Avi rescue scenario. As I mentioned at the beginning of the module, Avi dogs have pros and cons. They're very much more efficient than a probe line in finding a buried victim. They can cover a lot of ground very quickly. However, it usually takes a while before the dogs arrive on scene. This slide shows some data on Avi dog rescues over the last several decades. As you can see from the status column, most do not have such good outcomes. Look also at the burial duration column. Most of these victims were buried for much longer than the 15 to 20 minute burial time for a 50% survival rate. This is the two-edged sword of avalanche dogs. They need to be on site and get to the accident scene quickly if they're going to make a difference. This brings us to the end of this module. Thanks for your time.